We're doing Chapter 14, Elements of Chemistry, and Chapter 17.1, Chemical Equations.
I'm Jasmine Denai.
I'm Alexis Red.
I'm Asha Piggott.
I'm Chelsea Cheek.
And I'm Daryl Gatson.
Chapter 14, Chemistry, the Central Science. What is chemistry? Chemistry is the study of matter and the transformations it undergoes. Several scientists focus on basic research, which leads to a better understanding of how the world functions. Applied research develops the applications used for the foundations of knowledge towards basic education. Key terms: physical properties are properties that describe the look or feel of a substance. Physical changes occur when the substance changes its phase or some other physical property. Chemical properties characterize the ability of a substance to react with other substances or to transform from one substance to another. Key terms: chemical change is a change in a substance that involves a rearrangement of the way atoms are bonded. Elemental symbol is the chemical symbol. Atoms of different elements bind to one another, they form a compound. Scanning probe microscope detects and characterizes the surface atoms of materials. For Chapter 14.1, the first website we found involved using the periodic table, and the user can click on a row or column and learn about the different categories of elements. The strengths are the user can learn about the characteristics of each element. Each element category is highlighted in different colors. A weakness is it only lists the categories of elements. The second website we found for Section 14.1, the website allows you to learn about the different subjects in chemistry. It allows the user to read the information and take a quiz on each subject. This website is easy for everyone to use. The strengths of the website are it is easy to access, and you learn about each subject in chemistry and are able to take a quiz for each subject. A weakness is it only lists a limited amount of information.
For the second section of Chapter 14, the first link I found was we learned about the effects that manipulations of a given matter is. The site has many games that give the users facts about certain states of matter, and the states of matter allows the user to categorize different facts about different states of matter. Some strengths on this site are it's easy to remember the characteristics, it introduces new terminology, and there are no complicated directions. Some weaknesses could be that the terminology is not defined, there's a point deduction for a wrong categorization, it can be difficult to advance to the next level, and there are no resources to look up the characteristics of matter. The second link we found was the site is good for learning about the state of matter, reversible and irreversible changes, the properties of matter, and their melting points. The games on this site are pretty basic and require some manipulation to continue to each game. The game Solids, Liquids, and Gases allows the user to categorize the material to the corresponding state of matter. Some strengths of this website are that the basics of matter are shown, there's no penalty for incorrect categorization, it allows a reset, and some weaknesses could be that it only experiments on water, they categorize the same material every time, they ask rhetorical questions, and they do not mix materials to see what that effect has.
14.3, the first link that we had, the website was very helpful and kept you interested with all the colors and animation. The examples in the lab were very good and all accurate. It's like a game that they made into a lab. You can tell it was made for children or younger teens and keeps you focused and attention, but still, anybody can use it because it's so easy. Some of the strengths were it's very colorful and graphics. The graphics were very good for the animation. It's very simple and direct and had a lot of good information. The weaknesses were it didn't allow multiple attempts and it had a little delay in animation. The second link we have for 14.3, the website was set up some like MyLabs Plus, a Blackboard in a traditional learning fashion with Q&A set up. It was really simple to use, but it felt like it could have been more entertaining. It was just kind of boring. Had a lot of use of white space that could have been filled, but the information was good. It was just really basic. Some of the strengths were very hands-on, no time limit, and wasn't colorful. Some of the weaknesses were it took almost an hour to complete it and it had poor word choice.
So, for 14.4, the first site we used, the website interacted with the student through a quiz. At the end, they showed all the answers with details explaining why each question you got wrong was wrong and how to correct it. Some strengths of this site was it told you the correct answer at the end of each question, and it was about 20 questions, so it allowed you a lot of practice. Some weaknesses were the game was very time consuming, and the actual quiz was pretty hard to find on the page. For the second website we found for chapter 14.4, the website was like the game Jeopardy! You had to click on the category and answer the questions. It was fun at first, but after a while it became very repetitive. Some strengths of this site is that it can be played with a group or play individually. It was a broad range of categories, and some of the weaknesses was that it didn't have any graphics or animation, and it was a very dulled down version of the original game.
In chapter 14.5, the first website we found, it was a good website because it allowed the visitor to view the displayed compound name, and they must enter the formula and vice versa. For the strengths of this website, it was an infinite amount of times, and there were randomized questions, so it provided the visitor with a lot of practice. It also provided a check the answer button, so it gave them confirmation on whether or not their answers were right. Some weaknesses where it was too time consuming and it only let the visitor do one question at a time. The second website we found for chapter 14.5, it was learned by the visitor how to identify the name with the shown molecule. Strengths of this website was each atom had bright colors which helped identify the parts of the atoms of the molecule. There were 10 answer choices for the 10 questions, so there were not a surplus number of answer choices to choose from. Some weaknesses was that it does not provide, it does not tell you which questions are wrong, and the atom color key is hidden, so you had to search for it, so the visitor can easily become very confused.
The first website we found for chapter 14.6, we learned how to properly name the compounds that individually make up the periodic table. For the most part of the game, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? The more you get right on the first attempt, the quicker you move up the money ladder. The only difference is you have less resources. Some strengths of the website were that it lets the visitor know if it is correct or incorrect. It also provides hints to the answers. And some weaknesses of the website were it starts over once you get an answer incorrect, and it's too simple. The second website we found for chapter 14.6 was Chemistry with Miss Dana. This website has a multiple choice setup, which is easy for users to recognize. The users are able to get in a lot of practice with these problems. Some strengths of the website are it is multiple choice, it has multiple problems, and allows multiple attempts for one problem. The weaknesses of the website are there is not a good explanation for when a user gets a problem incorrect.
For chapter 14.7, the first link we found was NanoLand, which wasn't one of our favorite websites, to say the least. It had a lot of mini games that were interactive and teach you about nanotechnology. The games were very confusing and misguiding. The directions weren't clear at all. The arrows that you moved the character with weren't working properly, and there was a lot of glitches in the game. The information was a little helpful, but the site as a whole wasn't that good. Some of the strengths were the game allows multiple choices, and it gives 3 hints, leaving only one possible answer. The weaknesses were the game starts from the beginning if you get a question wrong, and this game can be very time consuming. For 14.7, our second website was really original. It was one of our favorite. It has a lot of color and a lot of information as well. It was a crossword puzzle, and when you find the words that are on the list, it gives you the definitions. It's very simple to use and gives you good descriptions on each term. It was one of our best websites. Some of the strengths is it incorporates ionic compounds, and it also incorporates molecule compounds. The weaknesses were the game can only be played by one person at a time.
Chapter 17.1 Key Terms. Chemical equations, which is a representation of a chemical equation in which reactants are shown to be on the left of an arrow that points to the products. Reactants are the reacting substances in a chemical reaction. Products are the new materials formed in a chemical reaction. Law of mass conservation is the matter which is created nor destroyed during a chemical reaction. Atoms merely rearranged without any apparent loss or gain of mass, to form new molecules. For chapter 17.1, the first link we found, we learned about reactants and products. There are a series of games that can be played. The games illustrate how to form chemical reactions. It also shows how to differentiate which chemical goes on which side. Some strengths of 17.1, the first link that we found. Before starting the game, it showed a step-by-step process of creating chemical equations. It also allowed multiple chances. The last strength that we found on the website was that this game allows multiple players. Weaknesses that we found were the first time playing can be difficult due to the limited amount of directions. It is also hard to tell whether you got an answer correct or incorrect, and this game is also very time consuming. The second website we found for 17.1 was intriguing because it let the visitor practice on balancing equations without letting them see the correct answers. The visitor must enter the number within the equation in order to balance them. Some strengths were the visitor is only given a minute to answer the question before it's considered wrong. Therefore, it made the visitor think on their feet. And there were a lot of equations for the visitors to practice from. So weaknesses are the visitor is not able to move on to the next question until they have completed the first question. And it's also, some of the equations were extremely way too long. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you.